This dresser was the first thing we bought when we got married. A lot's changed since then. But one thing stayed the same. I've dusted it with Pledge every week. And now Endust says, watch out for buildup. After 16 years, come on. Dusting with Pledge is what keeps it beautiful. Look, Endust evaporates, leaving woods dry and unprotected as before. But a Pledge shine protects beautifully.
With Pledge, dusting can be beautiful.
16 years, and still counting.
Mark and Jane Romano's First Home, made possible by branch manager Jim Gallivan and Shawmut Bank. Marissa Ridante's restaurant and the 6 a.m. shopping, made possible by loan officer Tom Rose and Shawmut Bank. Shawmut, together anything is possible.
To find out why Dunkin' Donuts croissant sandwiches are being heaped with praise, stop in and try one of our 9 made-to-order varieties and be prepared for greatness.
I haven't got time to breathe, let alone wait 2 weeks for new glasses. And her said to me, where do you get your hair done? I said at the mall. She said, why not go to LensCrafters?
LensCrafters crafts your quality glasses in about an hour by putting the whole lab right in store so you can see better and get more done in about an hour.
By the time my hair was done, my beautiful glasses were done.
LensCrafters, custom-crafted eyeglasses in about an hour. 5 locations, including Natick, Route 9, and Dedham, Route 1 North.
Good evening, I'm Jack Hines on our news at 10 tonight. Question 2 on the November ballot asks voters to repeal the prevailing wage law, which requires state and local governments to pay construction workers the prevailing union wage in the area in which they work. We'll have a report on question 2 and talk with both sides of that issue on the news at 10 tonight.
Crimes of Violence will continue in a moment.
When my wife gave me the Remington microscreen shaver, I liked it so much, I bought the company. Now, Ellen, have I got a gift for you. The new Lady Remington Smooth and Silky Hair Removal System. You will revolutionize your shaving habits and enjoy hair-free legs for weeks at a time. Smooth and Silky's hygienic rotating roller quickly removes hair below the skin at root level.
Thanks, Vic. It's perfect.
The new Lady Remington Smooth and Silky Hair Removal System.
Many people need to cut down on salt for better health.
Instead of salt, use great-tasting Mrs. Ash with 14 natural herbs and spices. Use Mrs. Ash on every dish for zesty, savory flavor. For better health, instead of salt, try Mrs. Ash.
Claude Akins. Love your Polygrip ads, but I use a powder adhesive for my dentures.
Then buy this, Super Polygrip powder. One use.
Richard Pryor in the money.
I think I just inherited 30
hour holding power.
In the money.
I think I just inherited $30 million.
Out of his mind.
You know what I mean?
On top of the world.
Anybody want to go to lunch?
John Candy, a man of action. A real nice guy. A spiffy dresser. Together, Richard Pryor and John Candy spend Brewster's millions.
Tuesday night at 8 on WLVI-TV.
Has it been a while since you spoke to your cousin in Keelung? Well, a 10-minute call to Singapore can average just 95 cents a minute. Be a doll and give her a call. AT&T International Long Distance. It's only natural to miss your mother in Holland, but 10-minute call to the Netherlands can average just 71 cents a minute. So don't miss out on the sound of her voice. AT&T International Long Distance.
Rape. Sexual intercourse with a female, forcibly and against her will. What image can convey the horror, the defilement, the violation that is rape? Mannequins, perhaps. Mute, smashed, discarded. A rape is reported every 6 minutes in the United States, but only an estimated 48% of rapes are actually reported. Of those, about half lead to arrests, and only a fraction of those arrested are ever convicted. Eric Annenberg, convicted rapist, currently serving 146 years, the longest sentence for a single offender, single victim rape in the history of California.
When this happens, it happens immediately, just like that. I go from being me, from a normal person, to an animal.
Although it is alleged that Annenberg has attacked other women, he has been convicted of rape only twice. Those attacks were vicious. He beat his victims, raped them, sodomized them, and tortured them. The mother of Annenberg's other victim helped the police track him down and gather evidence that led to his conviction. More than 10 years after the event, the details of Annenberg's brutality are still open wounds in her mind.
It was a very, very brutal attack. He ruptured both of her eardrums. He totally smashed her nose. A broken nose is one thing. Her nose was a smashed nose. One of her cheekbones was broken. She had fractured ribs. She had a spleen that was very, very close to being ruptured. He then took a poker from a pot-bellied stove, such as the one decorators sometimes use, an cast iron pot-bellied stove, and he heated the poker in a kerosene lamp until it was red hot, and then he proceeded to brand her just like you brand a steer all the way down the side of her leg. Eric Annenberg should be locked up for the rest of his life. He should never be permitted to move in society again. He cannot handle himself in society. Society cannot protect itself from him.
Annenberg's latest victim is 21 years old. To protect her identity, we will call her Susan. She was so brutalized by Annenberg, she continues to live in fear.
That's been my greatest fear since the day this happened, is that they're going to put me in a mental ward and lock me up in some straitjacket, not being able to deal with it, weakening, letting the shield that I've built, letting it down, and letting it really hit home. That is my greatest fear.
I forced her to go into the stone house, and I forced her to perform numerous sex acts.
Anything that you can imagine that happened. In your worst dreams.
July 10th, 11 p.m., a deserted road in Antelope Valley, California. Susan has finished work at a convenience store and is on her way to meet her boyfriend, who was a caretaker at a Christian youth camp. Suddenly, she notices a car behind her. The driver is Eric Annenberg. He pulls beside Susan, then he swerves and forces her off the road. He shoves her into his car at gunpoint. He tells her he is going to rape her. She feels the unspeakable horror of knowing she can be killed at any moment. Annenberg takes her to an abandoned stone cottage in the mountains. It is his dungeon. He violates her for hours.
It's not sex, it's just rape. It's just violent. It's like taking an arm or something and not getting it back. It's like it's taking part of your insides, your inner feelings, and it takes it away. I've done anything if it would have been myself and not her. She was just starting her life. Nobody needs anything like this, but especially a young person that's just starting out. I wished I could have been the person so she could have never had to have this happen in her life. It's just something being taken. It's your inside, it's your feelings, it's your pride, it's a little bit of everything that you respect for yourself.
Annenberg, who is married and is father to 4 children, seems incapable of really facing what he has done or the dark side of his own nature.
No, I'm not a violent person. I don't think I ever was a violent person. That is not me. That's not the type of person I am. That's not my feelings. That's not how I work. I don't know.
Why he did. I don't know why he did. What didn't I do? What could I have done? What should I have done? I don't know. I don't know.
A difficult question to answer, since Annenberg's childhood seems to have been idyllic. He wasn't poor. He wasn't trapped in a ghetto. He wasn't neglected. His mother was there. His stepfather. Both there at Christmas. Both there all the time.
At the time that I was growing up, it was pretty much Chevrolet and apple pie, you know.
But this child grew up to be a brutal rapist. What went wrong? Perhaps his childhood was not as idyllic as Annenberg remembers. Our research indicates there were problems. A stepfather who favored his flesh and blood son over his adopted son, Eric. And a lack of discipline in the home.
I spoke to many, many people, dozens of people, that had known him intimately. But in each and every case, the persons I spoke with alluded to the fact that the violence began very young in his life. He was a bully in school. He terrorized the other children. I'm going back to the time he was quite young. He had committed various assaults on various persons. He had put several persons in the hospital. And at no point in time did anyone say, stop, we're going to stop you from doing this.
Finally, our problem would seem to be biological in nature. Annenberg had a severe learning disability and could not adjust to school. He felt frustrated, angry, an outsider.
Eric was called hyperactive. He was on medication. When he was 12 years old, we saw a psychiatrist with Eric. And it wasn't very many times, maybe a half dozen times. And at that point, we were told that he was undergoing tests, and we were told that there was brain damage. And I asked the doctor what that meant, and he said, we don't know. And I said, what can we do about it? And he said, nothing.
At his trial for Susan's rape, the defense presented evidence of brain damage to explain Annenberg's violence. That evidence came from the results of a brain scan which traced Annenberg's brain waves and compared them with those of a control sample of normal individuals. The defense claimed that in patterns of shifting colors like these, one could see the root cause of Annenberg's violence.
To show you the one primary abnormal finding, the normal individual should have a color code that works out to a totally dark color. Eric's color shows bright oranges and blues when it should be all black. This shows decidedly abnormal brain function in the frontal lobes. We find that individuals with his type of brain disease in the frontal temporal lobes invariably engage in violent crimes, many of which are sexually involved also.
In terms of whether Mr. Annenberg's color-enhanced beam EEG is abnormal, and if so, what that abnormality signifies. Any particular one picture in that test does not have any particular significance. As a general psychiatrist, I know that most people who have abnormal EEGs are indistinguishable from the rest of us. Your EEG might be quite aberrant, but you could be functioning in a completely normal manner in every way.
What's triggered an explosion of frenzied violence in a brain which the defense claimed was damaged?
He abused LSD, PCP, cocaine, marijuana, alcohol, amphetamines, and heroin. And he abused these drugs from the age of 13 to the mid-20s. And using these drugs during that developmental stage caused his brain to develop wrong or malfunction.
I was consuming quite a bit of alcohol and speed, probably at least a quart or more of alcohol a day, and $100 or more of speed a day for a good 5-6 days leading up to the crime.
The pleas entered by the defense were not guilty, and not guilty by reason of insanity due to a drug-induced psychosis. But this claim fell on deaf ears because, as the prosecution pointed out, no one forced Annenberg to take drugs and never once did seek help for his habit.
My wife was able to tell when I was about ready to go on one of these binges, and she several times had pleaded with me to go to AA, go to somewhere to get help. Unfortunately, I wouldn't listen to her. I didn't listen to her.
The plea of legal insanity was rejected because, as the prosecution demonstrated, Annenberg's act showed a criminal mind at work. He carried a gun, he used it, and he knew what he was doing throughout the commission of his crime.
This man was in total control of this victim for the 3 hours that he kidnapped her and sexually abused her. He planned the remote location where he was going to take her to. He made her conceal herself while he was driving her around where other people could see him. He held a gun on her to control her. And perhaps most importantly, when he was determined to release this victim after this 3-hour ordeal, he threatened her and her parents repeatedly with death if she were to report this to the authorities. That shows me thinking of a criminal mind, a mind that is conscious and does not want to be caught. I reject his claim, and so did the jury.
Perhaps no better answer to the cause of Annenberg's violence can be found than that provided by Susan.
He was enjoying the part of just being in control. He tried choking me during the time that he was punching me, and he picked me up by my throat and told me that he was in control and that he could kill me if he wanted to.
The key word is control.
And they bring the pistol out, and at their equalizer, and they shove it in a person's face, and they get a rush. They get that rush off of being in control. For the first time maybe in their lives, baby, they're in control. And you're going to do what they want you to do, by God, or they'll blow your brains out. They get a rush from that.
In our overcrowded prisons today, there are many men, chronic, violent criminals, who get a rush off of control. They like to bend others to their will. They find violence the ultimate high. They like to hurt. They are, in fact, so lacking in moral faculties and afflicted by such a sickness of soul that they are incapable of feeling any sense of personal responsibility for their crimes. Is Annenberg such a man?
I certainly hurt the women, but it wasn't something that I thought about. It wasn't something that I was conscious of. It just happens, and it's just boom. Once this happens, it's not me anymore. I am not in control anymore, and it's this other person that I'm watching.
Denial of responsibility leads to a choking off of emotion. Annenberg has so distanced himself from his crime, he seems incapable of feeling grief, remorse, or compassion for Susan, whose interview showed him on videotape.
That's been my greatest fear since the day this happened, is that they're going to put me in a mental ward and lock me up in some straitjacket. Not being able to deal with it. Weakening, letting the shield that I built, letting it down and letting it really hit home. That is my greatest fear.
Well, I don't like to watch it. I don't like to, I don't even really like to hear it, to tell you the truth. There's not a whole lot of good that my tears or my sorrow can do her right now. This is something that I guess she'll have to deal with herself, and hopefully she'll be able to. The tears, I don't know, maybe they would. I want to, I'm not going to cry on national TV, that's it. Maybe that makes me a hard, callous person, but...
Because of his unwillingness to accept responsibility and his lack of empathy, some psychiatrists would label Annenberg a sociopath. Susan, who has suffered so much, renders a harsher judgment.
He's the type that should have probably been killed when he was a baby. And that would have been a lot better to society, because he's hurt a lot of people.
Eric Annenberg will be eligible for parole in 73 years.